Well, I would also say when you're talking about Jordan Poole and who he has to pass to, you do need Wiggins at full strength. You do need Clay rolling, because without those guys, who would you rather shoot besides Jordan Poole, right? I mean, when we're talking about share the rock.
Oh, I want to see Kevon Looney hit threes. I'm teasing.
Remember that was a thing like 4 years ago, and then it went away.
He's gonna stretch it out even more. Hey, boys, real quick, Alan. Welcome, Crosstalk.
Yeah.
Hello,
gentlemen. Do you notice your boys got
noticed it all morning?
Tom Coughlin-Shasky, a.k.a. either you're 5 minutes early or you're late.
Clock.
Am I on fire?
You've been on fire. You've been on fire.
Crosstalk 8:55?
It's incredible.
Willard, are you happy or mad at that?
I'm always ready. Yeah, let's do 8:50.
Congratulations.
Let's do 8:50.
Totally.
Yeah, I get that. Look, he's on vacation, so let me say, I get mad where when Bonte's like, "Hey, it's not 9 yet," but you stay till 9:25.
Exactly.
So why are
I'm
you
a selfish
allowed?
human being.
Why are you right?
Do you know what his nickname
like,
is?
we're
right?
not. I'm not selfish about what happens, but stay.
Stay
till noon. I don't care. Let's hang out.
The irony of Bonte hating James Harden, triple, is that ball hog Bonte is a thing here on this microphone.
Man.
Well, that's all of us.
I love you, B.
That's all of us. You guys rip me for that all the time. I think it's funny when radio hosts call other radio hosts talkative. I mean,
you didn't hear Damon's thing? He told me when I first got into the industry. I got lots of good advice from Dibs as well, but his was, you either get fired for talking too much or not enough.
Right.
So pick which one you want to be.
Exactly.
And I'm with him.
And he and I going back, 12 years and a couple of different jobs and a couple of different stations ago, our motto has always been, keep the seat.
Yes.
So no matter what you're doing, you got to keep the seat. And I know that you're in the seat now, that's his seat. And when Bonte comes back. No, but the point for you, Alan, is when you've come in, you've dominated.
Yes.
So if you want to look at the bench, and I don't want to disparage anyone as being on the bench, but you do nights and then you fill in during the day. You come in, you dominate, you're keeping the seat so that when... Heck, I'm not taking any days off with you around, Styles. I'm waiting until you're on vacation before I take another day.
That's just how it is in all aspects of life.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have to you ain't got to get ready if you stay ready. That's just what it is.
Damn, he came at you with a T-shirt.
Totally.
Just looked at you and gave you a coffee mug.
By the way,
that was crazy.
I was tired of getting roasted for my medium shirts, so I'm baking right now, but I'm keeping the jacket. I've kept the jacket on all day.
Oh man,
all morning.
When people get mad at medium shirts is because they're fat. They just don't like the way you look in your shirt.
I got it ready. Don't make me.
Especially in this industry.
No, you're doing fine. And the worst spot to be is when you're in between that L, XL spot. Because right now, if I throw on the L, it's like, damn, a little snug there.
Right.
And the XL, because I'm short, I'm, like your size, I'm shorter than Butch even. It's like the XL is like a dress.
Shirt.
So you look like you're part of the Cash Money Millionaires in the early 2000s doing the bling bling video.
What's up, brand? What's up, brand? Marine Layer?
Yes.
That does they do the tweeners. You go in there and it's like, the sizes will be medium/large.
No way.
Really?
And then large/extra large.
Totally.
Like, they totally change the way you feel about yourself.
Interesting.
Like a flex hat.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, boys. I don't know if you saw this, Mark, because I know you're dialed in on Giants baseball like I am, even though no one else cares right this moment.
I went to Arizona last night.
I like that.
Already came back.
Joey Bart, there was like kind of almost like a throwaway tweet from Susan Slusser. It basically was an article about the San Francisco Chronicle, breaking down the Giants roster or whatever. And at the end, it says, Joey Bart's not a lock to make the Giants. And I was like, whoa.
Yep.
Whoa. No, and I'm not saying that she's wrong. What I'm saying is, just a couple of years ago, we had Trey Lance drafted number 3 overall. We had James Wiseman taken number 2 overall. Joey Bart, which was a couple years before those guys, taken number 2 overall. I'm trying to learn a lesson as a host, and Dibs has talked to me about, all caps radio, all caps tweeting, trying to show a changeup, trying to show the splitter, trying to work my repertoire so I'm a 6-pitch guy, not a 1-pitch guy. I don't want to be Camilo Duvall, okay? And I don't want to be Mariano Rivera, just the cutter. I want more than that, even though you can go to the Hall of Fame with that. I was just shocked that that's where we're at with Joey Bart, and I guess it's a lesson to me and a lot of the fans out there. One guy's not going to save your franchise. Especially these young people. Like, I know, like, Steph's a unicorn. Buster Posey, a unicorn. And even those guys got help from others. But to think that, like, one person's just going to come in at 20-something years old, the Julio Rodriguez's of the world are outliers, not the standard. And I feel like I've fallen victim to thinking that one of these guys was going to come in and ball out right away.
It's interesting. We were just sitting here in the other room talking about, and I think we can do this with all three of the teams that dominate our conversations, right? Let's take Joey Bart, let's take Trey Lance, and let's take James Wiseman, who went 11-5 last night for the Detroit Pistons in 24 minutes of action. He can score. I just don't know if he can do anything else. So anyway, here's the thing. They get a longer leash because of the investment, because of the projection that we give them. However, how quickly and at what point do you have to sit there and go, now we have to forget the projection because it's not really relevant in the long term.
The nepotism of the pick?
Kind of, yes. And we as fans do this. You don't have to look around very far in your friend group to find someone who thinks that the 49ers should start Trey Lance over Brock Purdy because he's, quote, more talented. Well, what does that mean? More talented always means more physically gifted, bigger, stronger, faster. He's got a howitzer. He can run. How come talent doesn't necessarily go to all of the other things? Processing, decision-making.
Are you good?
Joey Bart, there's obviously, there are holes there.
Yes.
He's big, he's strong, he can hit the Coke bottle. But can he be your catcher every day? Can he not strike out so dang much? So what counts as talent? The two quarterbacks that come up in the greatest of all time conversation don't have a lick of quote-unquote talent when they walk in the room. Joe Montana and Tom Brady sit next to us. They look like us.
I would add Jerry Rice to that. Think about the Pete Rose. Pick whoever's the greatest in there. None of them were the most physically gifted of all time. They were the hardest workers, or they perfected their craft, or they had something beautiful about their game. I'm not saying Jerry wasn't talented, but Randy Moss is winning an athlete award if we're just comparing the two, right?
Right.
Why did Steph Curry go so late in the draft? Because he was not seen as talented. He was a very slight, we don't know what he is, mid-major specialty shooter.
This is a great example, which has shaded the way people do or don't stick Steph Curry into the greatest or your Mount Rushmore, your top 10 or whatever, because we take forever to believe what we actually see, and instead we believe what we were told we're going to see.
Yeah.
I'm already over James. He's not good.
James
Wiseman.
James Wiseman.
He's physically gifted, but he's not good.
How long do you think he'll be in the league?
I mean, a while because of projection.
And the fact that he's 7'1", you can't help but want to think that maybe we can be the ones to teach him how to actually play defense.
Physical gifts, but watch him try to set a screen. He's lost.
No,
he's completely lost.
No, I get it, but I guess my whole point would be, well, the draft is never going to change. The projections are never going to change.
No, I'm not saying you of course you do it that way. Yes, I'm going to take physically gifted and processing over just processing.
Right.
I just think we stick with it too long. We stick with what we were told. If I just said to you right now, okay, forget everything you've ever known about the projection and the draft status of Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. Solely go on what you've watched in the NFL between the two players and tell me what you see.
It's unequivocal.
It's not even close.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
But we're still stuck because of a projection, and this is not
because of an investment.
But it was
more
not
than a projection.
And I'm not killing.
It's the investment that I think is the bigger issue in all this. Because if James Wiseman's a great example. If he was just a guy who was a non-drafted free agent that happened to walk through the door, hi, I'm 7'1", I play basketball, he would not have lasted 2.5 years.
Right.
He would have been there for about a month and a half, and they would have said, thank you. Thank you, next. Ariana Grande.
And I'm not here to kill anybody's career. I get that guys can develop and become something. I do think, though, we stick with ideas of investment, politics, projection, which all are anti-fan. But I want the guy who's ready to go play.
No, I hear you.
Let's go.
That's funny that you bring that up, because I find this actually really fascinating, because how many times has Farhan for example, taking a Kevin Gosman, who's a former first-round flameout for a reason, and yet randomly they do find success. Again, baseball's so different. I'm not trying to equate the two, but like we do this, and like I praise Farhan. I'm like, this is a former first-rounder. Let's give him a chance.
I guess I'm not saying it's not like projections don't matter. First-rounders are better than seventh-rounders.
They have
majority
physical
of the
gifts.
time.
Normally,
Yeah, they have physical gifts.
I get that. It's interesting to me how long it takes people to switch from the projection to what we actually
The white
see.
flag.
But
Right.
yes, what is that line? And I don't know if anybody.
Maybe it's different for every player.
I think it's different for every player. I think it's different for every sport.
Yeah.
Now going back to Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, if you don't feel like Brock crossed that line, because think about it like this: you just said, okay, well, Brock Purdy, what he did, the eye test would say to start Brock Purdy if healthy. But that also would have been Jimmy Garoppolo going into this season. But at some point, when you do have that draft pick, it's tough because you want to at least prove it out, and he's not going to get better. They've already admitted he was a project. So I don't know if I'm the argument to go with Trey Lance. I don't think we're too far gone to say, yeah, sure, I would start Trey Lance but it would be the last hoorah. Don't get me wrong.
It's got to be shown, though. Like, something would have to happen this offseason where you're like, oh, my gosh, it clicked. It's all right.
I get it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It can't be
the
about
players have
But
to
even
see
if
it can't be about
clicked,
projection.
Brock's already put on film regular season and playoff success, so it would have to be a Brock injury that kept you from having Brock Purdy be the quarterback. I think based on what he's already done. But the one thing that we learned this year, and we've learned it every year in Kyle Shanahan's tenure, except for one, Kyle Shanahan needs more than one quarterback. And I know he's not the only one who has quarterbacks who get hurt, but this year they had 4 different guys play quarterback, and you got to a point where you needed a fifth. So if you're looking at Trey Lance as anything other than a QB, he doesn't have to be QB2. He's QB2 for now, but he will be QB1 at some point.
No, listen, I want Trey Lance on the team. I think that the development of him is still a huge, huge piece of this organization and where it's going to go next. So I'm not trying to send anybody out of town, James, but not Trey, for sure.
Leave James Joey. He's in the cold in Detroit.
Joey loves James.
Joey will see, but it's the whole thing is just kind of it's fascinating to me. For example, earlier this week we threw out the NFC quarterback draft and said, okay, if Jalen Hurts is your first pick, who would you even go to second?
And a year ago, it would not have been that way.
No, it would not have been at all.
Hurts.
And so you can have a very healthy debate. The names that come up are Stafford and Cousins and Dak, and is Rodgers still in the NFC? It was fascinating to me, though, and I get why. Everybody you're way too scared because Twitter will come firing at you if you use the name Brock Purdy.
Well, you want to see 17 games.
You want to see more than 8 games.
Yeah.
But if I change the question, who had the second best season this year at quarterback in the NFC?
Totally different question.
It's Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Over Tom Brady?
Over Geno Smith?
Are we sleeping on Jared Goff?
Exactly.
Maybe,
so it's not as clear cut.
great year, though.
You're talking about season, not 8 games.
But you're going
not
stats.
7 games.
You're going stats.
I'm going what the quarterback did for their team. Kirk Cousins in a season. Kirk Cousins' season was unbelievable.
Yeah,
you know what's so?
His postseason wasn't special.
Yeah.
But his season
that's
was
my point. They're terrible. They're terrible when it matters most. I guess.
Right.
What if let's talk about projection again. All right, if I asked you right now, next 6 years of NFL, you can have either Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, or Kirk Cousins as your quarterback. What do you want?
My answer would be
Dak?
What roster?
And what salary?
That's a good response.
Because I don't know what Brock Purdy looks like on the Vikings or the Cowboys.
I guess my point would be, how many years have we watched Dak and Kirk not be able to do it?
But they've put up great numbers.
Yes, they have.
I'm not trying to I know, but I
right?
know.
So does Kemba Walker.
And not as good a team. Don't steal my Kemba Walker.
What you mean,
sorry.
Kemba Walker's my take.
Leave Kemba out of this.
I will never leave Kemba out of it because he had the single worst offensive season in the history of the association.
He's just not good.
Number 2 is Kobe Bryant, by the way. Nobody wants to talk about that. Kobe Bryant's last year, from an efficiency standpoint, second worst in NBA history.
Well, I think the greats, right? A lot of these greats, they take a little bit longer. I mean, Derek Jeter wasn't great in his last year per se.
Of course.
Right?
I think in terms of
It was
this
Willie
conversation,
Mays. I mean,
if you take any of these other quarterbacks and you put him with Kyle Shanahan and this offense and this team, they're going to be better.
Maybe.
Dak's going to be better here than he is in Dallas.
Okay, hold on,
Kirk's
though.
going to be better here than he is in Minnesota.
Kyle just
Gino's
brought this
going to be
up.
better here
Hold
than
on.
he's been in Seattle.
the problem.
Kyle
I mean, we
just-
go round and round. Don't tell me to hold on.
No,
I'm on a roll right now. These are facts,
Yeah, except
Mark.
for I'm going to nail you on this.
You've been
because
talk blocking this whole changeover.
No, Kyle
I'm making
just
quality
said this.
points.
Except for you're not. If you'd let me respond, because
you've had your
is
time.
your point that Dak Prescott didn't have enough around him this year with a great defense, CeeDee Lamb?
My point is the Niners. The Niners
Pollard,
coaching is better.
A Super Bowl winning.
The Niners' weapons are better. The Niners' defense is better.
Right.
All of that and more is better. Yes, that's my point.
Like this much better. You cannot.
better is better.
But you can't make the point that Dak Prescott's being held back by his team.
I didn't say he's being held back.
It
All
kinda
I
sounded
said,
like it.
no, those are your words. My words were Dak would be better in San Francisco. Kirk would be better.
I don't buy it.
In San Francisco.
I don't buy
Gino,
it.
I'm not trying to sell it. I'm just telling you my opinion.
I think
Gino
they
would be
would be.
better
I
in
just
San
don't know how
Francisco.
much. I don't think how much. I think when you look at Dak Prescott, I think the easy one is probably Kirk Cousins, because Kirk Cousins is, I don't know if he's low risk, mid reward. I don't know what Kirk Cousins is, but I don't necessarily fear him. You don't fear him to win the game, but you don't necessarily fear him to lose the game the same way you do with Dak.
And his defense was awful. His defense was legitimately awful.
Right. So Kirk,
So Dak had a defense.
Yeah, Kirk, I think we can probably agree on. Dak is the tough one, because does Kyle Shanahan coach him out of those turnovers? I have no clue.
Right.
But I do know, Willard, that when Purdy was working, those wide receivers were pretty darn open.
Yeah.
So,
look.
I would imagine Dak would be throwing to bigger windows.
Of course. Well, I don't know about the Dak
And
thing.
more options, I
Kirk, we
think.
can agree on
I'm going to
Kirk.
buy you. Dallas is incredibly talented, all over the place.
You're listening to 95.7 Game, KGMZ-FM, HD1 San Francisco.
9/11.
Always live on the free Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app and favorite 95.7 The Game for the best and most up-to-date sports coverage. Don't forget, you can also watch us every day on YouTube and Twitch. Just log on and search 95.7 The Game. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel while you're there. Sorry, guys.
Big fat choke.
You don't have to rush it when you're outside the 5-minute window.
It's too late.
Dibs, I'm sorry.
You got 5 minutes either way. You know what's funny
My
is
bad.
the FCC is not sitting there right now. We're going to finally find these
Jabba the
people.
Hutt.
The legal is
My bad.
about as called as the delay of game in
Yeah.
football, where we all see it go to 0 and we all scream delay.
It drives me nuts.
It's same thing with the.
You're not getting pulled over for going 67 on the freeway. You just
Totally.
went 67 on the freeway. You broke the law, but it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm
It
trying.
doesn't matter.
No, you're doing great. You're doing
fine.
great.
I've learned the this side. Boy, you realize how much you miss Bonte.
No, it's funny because I do it when Mark is
It
out.
drives me
Like
nuts.
when I get Whitey as a partner,
I mean that-
Whitey's in the
no
chair.
disrespect, Alan.
When I get Kruger, Larry prefers to play off the ball, so I do
Yeah.
the same thing, and it gives me a greater appreciation of my guy
Exactly.
Willie, because I got 5 pieces of paper, 3 sound sheets, I got the phones, 2 mice.
They're
the
in
hell
my
am I
ear.
doing?
They're in my ear.
I'm over here in Allen's seat just cracking wise all day. It's a
Exactly.
little easier.
You know?
Exactly. The boss is
Wise.
like, hey, look, for crosstalk, I need you to just lay back a little. So I'm trying to
Totally.
like
No,
trying to
you're
pull
doing
the
great.
Bonte and,
You're doing
and back
great.
off the mic a little. So all right, so we've kind of ad nauseum the quarterback position. James Wiseman. Does the baseball do anything for you right now? Because I feel like we're in a weird spot on the sports calendar.
Right.
And I know there's all these new baseball rules, and we're going to play a fun game tomorrow on like peppering what the new rules are. I love baseball. Love it.
I think we all do.
Pitchers
You
and
play
catchers
baseball,
reporting.
right?
Like, are you
While back.
Well, it's not about pitchers. It's not
Trust me.
about pitchers and catchers reporting. It's just about it's a ramp up to the season. Every
Luciano-
sport has a ramp up to the season.
I
right?
agree, but
like
like Luciano-
preseason football, yawn, but ramp up to the
Yeah.
season. You
No,
know what I mean?
And
Right.
preseason football comes with a lot of,
Yeah.
we're all hyped up, ready to gamble again.
Right.
Marco Luciano comes out that he hurt his back. Now, I went through.
The savior.
All right, I want to go just real quick on the Giants for just a second. I know, exactly. We've never even seen the guy. And this goes back to thinking that young people are going to save
I'm with
your
Alan
organization.
right now. Does he even exist? I know you've seen highlights on Twitter.
I'm just saying.
I'm with you.
He's not a shortstop.
Does he even exist as an actual person outside of a TikTok or a YouTube highlight?
Well, he's not.
Is he a real person?
I'm going to vote yes, but I can't prove it.
I can't.
I've seen
I
a
can't
highlight,
prove
but it's like it's single A, so it's a little grainy.
Dude,
Maybe
I'm team
that's him.
Styles
I
on
don't
this.
know.
Does
I
he
don't really know.
Is he really like Mikey Luciano? Is he a completely different
knows?
guy? I mean, I'm with you, Alan.
But I would say, Shasky, because you were mentioning how Joey Bart was supposed to save the franchise. And we talked about Kyle Harrison. Shout out.
It was supposed to represent a jolt of youth movement.
I think that's the problem.
Maybe the way I should.
He wasn't supposed to be the next Buster.
No.
But he was supposed to be the first step in this next version of this next wave of young talent. So he's missed so far. Marco Luciano, lower back stress fracture, whatever it is. That doesn't sound good.
No.
Doesn't sound good.
And to your point, like I read the Melissa Lockhart article, right? This was about a month ago, talking about the top 25 prospects. And they brought Farhan here to fix the farm. It was like, of the top 25, I counted 16 either had major regression on the field or lower back injuries. And so when I saw this like Luciano news yesterday, and I talked with Lubman about this because we were talking about baseball, I'm like, what is going on in the Giants organization where all these guys, either you are doing or not doing something to where all these guys have back injuries? I'm just throwing my hands up and I'm like, what is going on, Giants?
I mean, I don't even know what the answer to that is. That's,
not enough yoga.
I mean, it's like blaming Kyle Shanahan for quarterback injuries, right?
Which I don't even think is fair.
No, and there's no way to have a what, Styles?
Look, all I'm saying, all I'll say is this. I'll put it to you like this. Your car can get broken into anywhere. But if you park in certain areas
with a laptop out
late at night, it's probably a higher percentage that it will get broken into.
Are you blaming Steinmetz for how many times his car gets broken into? Is that what you're saying right now?
No, but he has left his work bag on the seat.
I hear you.
Don't leave the iPhone charger.
No, exactly.
Except for there would have to be a common thread through the injuries for that to be a case. There's no common thread.
Well, the common thread is the coach, and he's been here every year but one. He's had multiple quarterbacks.
But the style of injury would need to have a common thread for you to be able to blame Kyle Shanahan
it's the style
for
of player.
Are you just
Jimmy
going bad luck?
Always gets hurt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Football.
No, that's fine. I don't know.
I mean, totally different injuries, each and every one of them.
All I know is you ever seen that? Remember that show back in the day, Bait Car?
Yeah, exactly.
You get in the bait car, it might be a problem.
One of my favorite expressions is the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding for the 49ers is the fact that every year but one, you've had to play multiple quarterbacks because your quarterback has gotten hurt. Whether or not it's his fault or not is not the point for me. The point is, and this goes back to Trey Lance, going into this year, do we all think that Brock Purdy's going to start 17 games? I sure don't.
I think he's going to miss the front end, not the back end.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait until after next Wednesday before I answer that question.
Right.
But if
I told you this last year, I said over under Brock Purdy half a start, and you took the under.
Well,
everyone did.
Yeah,
I took the over thinking about a garbage time. I thought
QB3.
week 17, you might throw him a bone.
He did play against Kansas City.
Right, but
Right.
in terms of starts, I put the over under at a half.
He was QB2 by then.
Yes.
This question was posed when he was QB3.
Yes, and good point. But he also came in relief of Jimmy because it was a blowout or whatever. That's stupid.
If I said over under quarterback appearances next year for the Niners at 2.5,
Under.
I mean,
I might take over.
See, me too.
I hate saying
if
that.
Brock starts,
and I like Brock.
If Brock is delayed, that's 2 right there.
Well, okay. Again, I'm waiting until if it's just the repair. If the surgery is just the repair next week, I'm taking under on everything you're throwing out there.
And it's not like Brock. This is the other thing I'll say about the Brock injury. Joe, he's injury prone. He's not. It was such a freak.
Completely.
He didn't. Not one game was like, oh, dude, Brock's taking shots. Like in the Trey games, he was getting blasted. Whether he's holding the ball, whatever. We can argue about that. Jimmy had the Saints game, he got blasted. Brock did such a great job, pre-recognition of like knowing how to get rid of the ball. I thought he protected his body from shots as well as any Niner quarterback I've seen in 15 years.
No, I would agree with that. I would agree with the fact that Brock Purdy, he was able to get the ball out quick, and that neutralizes this whole thing. I was thinking about this whole edge rusher thing and how, we got to get somebody on the other side of Nick Bosa. It feels like the most important position, the edge rusher, but also the position that can get kind of eliminated if you play it right. I mean, Joe Burrow hasn't had an offensive line for what feels like 2 years. You can game plan around an edge rusher, but look at the Eagles. Now people are saying, well, look at who they play. Now we want to look at all the quarterbacks that they face. I mean, and we can talk about the grass or wherever the heck that grass was from. Right. But that edge rusher position is so interesting because you need it, but there are certain games. If you game plan enough, you can eliminate it. If you can run the football, if you can do different things. I
think that's why the Niners want 2.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's why they've always been trying to stick someone on the other end of Nick Bosa.
But the Eagles supposedly had 4.
Yeah.
And none of them could get to him.
Not in the Super Bowl.
With a bum ankle.
You had a good offensive line, and you had a quarterback who wasn't sitting back there waiting for those guys to come get him.
And he's an all-timer. They lost in the final minutes of the Super Bowl. Like,
Right.
like we're dismissing the whole year. They were dominant all year.
It's a failure. That's what was funny about Angelo.
I'm not trying to say that's what you were doing.
Sure.
No, but you guys were playing Cataldi the next morning on Monday morning after the Super Bowl, and it just cracks me up that here comes Philadelphia sports media the day after the Super Bowl to be like, see, I told you it was a failure, and here these idiots. It's like you just won almost all the games.
Exactly.
And you lost 38-35, and now you stink, and we need to restart over the whole. It's just funny.
And talking about greats, that when you talked about Tom Brady, Joe Montana, that is why Mahomes could be the GOAT, because you talked about the whole athletic aspect. He's the guy that has both.
That's what you want.
What's the hole in his game?
Right. You know what I was thinking?
Nothing.
When it comes
There's
to rushing the quarterback, is it possible that not having Tyreek Hill actually helped the Chiefs? Because there was no
Go-to guy.
No, but not necessarily. They weren't, oh man, should we go deep here? And then Mahomes gets hit. They just didn't even think about it, really.
I mean, this is always the Shanahan conversation goes here often too, in terms of like what he likes to do. He likes to. You just said this earlier when we were talking. He likes to win 20-17. Mm-hmm. I think he likes to win 20-17 when Jimmy's his quarterback. When Matt Ryan was his quarterback, he had no problem scoring 38 points.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think Andy Reid, obviously a very good coach, you're going to have a different game plan if Tyreek's on your team or if your top receiver is Juju Smith-Schuster.
Right, they just weren't.
You're going to have a different style.
Exactly. They weren't tempted if they still had Tyreek. Let's take a shot here. Let's put it on the board. And then you have Hassan Reddick. Shout out to you for Temple U.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Put you on his butt.
Off subject on something you guys were talking about when I was coming in, because I thought this was an interesting question with Steve Kerr saying yesterday and Klay Thompson, all of them expressing very firmly that they truly still believe they're championship contenders. And you were like, okay, take out all the context and the history and all that. How do they do that?
Yeah.
What's the X's and O's of how they do that? I've decided that we
Thank you.
We as a sports media
in Arizona,
we need to rip them.
Camelback.
We need to rip the Warriors.
Why?
We need to just shower them with our disbelief. We need to shower them with the era's over. You can't do it. There is no chance. You're cooked. You're done. They spent a whole parade telling us how petty they are.
Yeah.
And they keep the receipts. And if Draymond Green is literally, if what he's saying is true, we just need to freaking want this. Well, then let's help them. You can't do it.
Mark.
You guys are done. You're cooked. You're old. You've lost a step.
They know you don't mean that.
You can't defend. I know. That's why you guys need to do it
we
too.
need to take the
because they will
torch.
believe you.
Exactly.
But I do
Steiny and Goo, noon to 3.
Exactly.
I do think that ties into why they had the championship hangover this year, though, because they just went through all the national media and even some of us here doubting them.
Yeah.
So now they got to run it back, and they're still being doubted. They're one of the only teams, because they're older, to win it all, and nobody
that's the problem.
besides Stephen A. Smith.
They won it. And so now we're all like, oh, I guess the era wasn't over, and they were right. And so now we're all sitting here going, yeah, but now we're like,
but the era is over now, and it's you look at the team they have. Steph Curry, is he going to come back at all? You traded for a guy who simply can't play. He's damaged goods. Your bench is mediocre at best, and Andrew Wiggins, who was, he's two-way wig, he's back to K-wig. The guy's largely disinterested.
Kirkland?
Draymond Green has lost a step, and he's one tech away from sitting out games, and Klay Thompson is now a one-way player. Kevon Looney, I love you. You got jumper cables in your trunk, and I may need to borrow them, but you're highly limited as well. It's over. Golden State Warriors.
I can't tell.
That's what I'm talking about.
I can't tell if you're kidding or not.
I'm not kidding. I'm more
His
worried
face
about the
is
Lakers.
going to be on the bus in July
Dude,
when
the
it comes through
Lakers are
Market
better
Street
than
again.
you right now. The Lakers are coming. The Warriors are closer to the play out than they are the play in.
We've got a couple minutes before I get out here, and I want to ask you two things. Number one, what do you got coming up? And number two, did you watch Full Swing on Netflix at all?
Yes.
I did too.
Yes.
What'd you think?
I only got about 20 minutes in, and then it was bedtime for the little guy, but this was what was so great. You said what you said yesterday, and then my 16-year-old son, who he's on the high school golf team.
He's got a beautiful swing.
He goes, hey, Dad, there's this new thing I heard about on Netflix, and I really want to watch it with you. He goes, it's about the PGA Tour. I go, Shasky was just telling me about this today. Let's go. So they were all hopped up to sit down and watch.
I'm a Jordan Spieth big-time fan.
I'm only 20 minutes in, but it was
good.
It was really good.
I have not seen it.
All right,
Yeah,
I don't want to give it away. Episode 2 is with Brooks Koepka, and to me, he's very complicated. It was the most endearing thing I've ever. Him going through the misery of failure. He was so. I don't think we understand. And I saw this with D Ford when I walked up to him at practice. He physically couldn't do what he used to do. I could see how frustrated he was. We get so mad at James Wiseman or this guy or Steph or being hurt or whatever. Whoever picked the athlete. To see the professional athlete, and it's through the prism. I know it's filtered. It's camera. I was like, damn, Brooks is wearing it. Like, he cannot.
It's got to be awful. And now,
here we go.
So now he takes $100 million to go play on a tour where it doesn't matter if you're any
His
good.
whole life,
he
though,
can
is
shoot
majors.
a 90 every single week. It doesn't matter, though, Joe.
But when you watch him and you see the episode 2, it's depressing. I'm watching, he's like, nothing matters except majors. That's literally what he's saying. And it's the same thing like Curry. Nothing matters but championships.
Well, what would we say if he was a baseball player and he had this unbelievable flash, this physical, muscular specimen, and then he fell off the map?
We'd say Roy.
He's Brady Anderson.
But Tiger
Get
did
outta
that.
here.
Yes.
Tiger did that to golf.
Yes.
And we do that.
Yes.
We do. It's championship or bust.
It's not fair.
And Barkley and Drexler, you're lesser. You're not like, that it just.
Drexler got one.
I'm sorry, not Drexler. Bad example. Ewing. Barkley, Ewing.
Stockton.
You're lesser than because even though you were amazing for 20 years, you never got the last one.
He won 4 majors in 2 years and then should have beat Phil.
And then got hurt.
I
mean, who could have seen that coming?
Well, thanks, Bryson.
Rory's winning the
Dude,
Rory's winning the Masters. You can book that.
All right, I'll write it down.
I will not book that because I'm going to take someone else, but I'll let you know.
John Rahm is
In
an
April.
unstoppable force right now.
I'll take the field.
I'm taking Rahm.
I'll take the field.
Yeah, I'm taking the field too. All right, that's brought to you by no one.